What is up, everybody? This is Second Soundwave, and we're coming back with another video. Now, you'll notice my setup's a little different here. I've got half of a Gundam sort of partially built where I usually review stuff, and I really don't want to disturb that right now. So, today we're going to be doing a review over here on the other side of the room. So, if you'll pardon the change of background, let's get on with this. So, this right here is the NECA Striker Eureka from Pacific Rim. Now, usually I try to avoid NECA like the plague because, quite frankly, their quality control is terrible. Like, just awful. And I've always had a very low opinion of them. Unfortunately, I am a huge fan of Pacific Rim. And this is literally the only way to get any physical representation of the Jaegers, unless you want, like, those little super deformed keychain things. But who wants those? I want, you know, big, solid, realistic-looking versions of them. And from an appearance standpoint, it is okay. The detail's a little too mushy for my taste. That seems to be a running trend with NECA. It's why I actually used to think these figures were quite a bit smaller than they actually are. Because I thought these were going to be like this tall, maybe. Because these are fairly tall. I mean, if we throw in a deluxe class transformer here, you can see that they do tower over them. It's definitely a good 8-inch figure. Now, problem is, well, I should say problem like there's only one, but there's way, way, way more than one with this thing. Anyway, first problem, plastic. It's very sort of rubbery feeling. It doesn't feel like a quality action figure. It feels like a dog toy, kind of. Now, they did give it some paint weathering, and they kind of did try to make it look worn, but instead it looks like someone just kind of smeared graphite fingerprints all over it, and it really doesn't look as impressive as they thought it would. I mean, the sculpting's nice, especially around those, and the weathering, the silver weathering on the black parts does look good. I will give them that. Like around the joints and stuff. You'll notice that for some reason there's a bit of cloth stuck in that joint. And if you look very carefully at it, this hip joint's higher than this hip joint, and there's nothing I can seem to do to fix that, so that's just another example of NECA's shining quality. Anyway, there's this weird bluish paint around there that I'm not even sure is supposed to be there. Apparently it is because it's on the other side. I guess that's supposed to be like rusting copper or something. I don't know. But anyway, overall it could be better, but it could also be much worse. Now, mine also, when I got it in the package, because of how rubbery the plastic is, this fin's actually bent in, and because of how thick it is, I can't really bend it out. Actually, I'm not even sure if this is bent in or that's bent out, but they definitely don't look right. Anyway, his swords here, as you can see, are, now, to their credit, they are very pointy, and that's kind of cool. But they're also just on these little pegs that actually just drop right out at the drop of a hat, and while it's nice that they're articulated, they really could have made them attach a bit better. Also, one thing that's puzzling with this, and it goes for Gypsy Danger as well, is that on the back of the packaging, they show them with open hands, even though the figure itself has closed hands. They show Gypsy Danger like that too, even though I know for a fact that both figures have closed fists. And I'm almost certain that I didn't like gloss over any open hands that might have been in the package, because I'm pretty sure I didn't. So I'm not sure what's up with that. But anyway, moving on to articulation. Here's problem number 3. No, 4 actually with this figure. The plastic combined with the heavily glopped on paint, because most of this is paint, and it's just kind of just glopped on as heavily as they could slop it on there, and the joints definitely suffer for it. Now, I don't know why my camera is steadily drifting down, but if you'll excuse me for a minute, why don't I just bring it down here? These joints, these ones are okay. They could be better, but you know, that's the primary shoulder joint. The secondary one is down here underneath the shoulder pad. And it means they can get some different sort of configurations there. And that's cool. And that's actually not a bad bit of articulation. Too bad that on this side it's fused shut because of how much the plastic likes sticking to itself when layered on with a 1/4 inch of paint. Kind of a shame. Shoulders do go forward and back on this weird like angled joint thing. So that's okay. Head can wiggle Notice that sound? That's what almost every joint on this figure makes. The elbows locked straight, or you can hinge them like that, and then they got a bit of range here. And that's an acceptable elbow range for this, just because it is a Jaeger. They weren't the most agile things, even though Strike Eureka was supposed to be the quickest and most agile of all of them. But it's that, if it was just that, that would be okay. However, there's no swivel anywhere in here, so that's useless. His wrist can do this. Not a very useful maneuver when it can't do this, or when this can't do this, or when this can't do this, or when nothing on his arm swivels in any way, shape, or form. Now the waist. It does rotate, and it's on a ball joint, so it has a bit of wiggle to it. And actually, that's one of the better torso joints that I've seen. Actually better than some figure arts I've seen. So that I'll give them credit for. That's pretty good. But then you'll notice that, again, like I said before, the hips are not aligned at all. And you'll notice that it's not only aligned this way wrong, but this side, this piece closer to this side, because the whole thing's like shifted up this way. And I don't know why that is, but this leg can't even really go out. This one you can tip out like a little bit. And I don't want to move this any farther because I've heard hundreds of reports of people just snapping the hip off this guy because of how just over tightened the joints are. Now, moving down to the knees. He has ratcheting knees. That's great, except that they have 3 positions. 3 positions. That's it. Now, he doesn't have a swivel here either because this is glued onto the side of the leg instead of the underside, so don't expect any articulation there. Feet can wiggle and they can turn, although I don't see what use having an ankle swivel is when nothing else swivels. So basically, the most dynamic pose you can get this guy into is, well, basically that. That's about, oh, and you notice these are very loose and wiggly and they just don't stay in. That right there, and he can't even really stand in it because he doesn't have enough swivels to settle his body down in a position where it would actually hold. That right there is about the best pose you're going to get out of this. The only thing this thing can really do well is just stand there and look cool. And it looks okay. I will give them that. If it's just standing there, it's not terrible. But for a $20 figure, it could certainly be a whole lot better. And that's assuming you can get this guy for 20 bucks. I found this guy at a local sort of book/hobby store for around that much, but a lot of people on eBay and Amazon sell this guy for around 30. Don't get that. This thing is not worth that, and honestly, none of the Pacific Rim NECA stuff is. Just, if you can find it for 20 and you absolutely adore the movie, like I do, pick this up or whatever your favorite Jaeger is. Other than that, just avoid these. They're really not worth it, and they're just not good figures. I mean, this is just, I could not in good conscience recommend this to anyone who just doesn't absolutely adore the movie and just wants anything of the character. I guess suit, not even really a character, but anyway, this has been Second Soundwave. This has been a review of the rather subpar, to say the least, NECA release that is Strike Eureka. See you next time, and hopefully it'll be on a much higher note. Or better note. Or maybe both. You know, I don't even remember how that saying goes anymore. Let's stick with better. Better note, see y'all later.